All right, so today I wanted to talk about the time I got mogged by a 6'6" Swedish Gigachad. So I was in Stockholm, Sweden about 2 years ago. I was visiting a friend from university that I had made that was studying here. He was in a club that I was in, and he had invited me out to Sweden for about a week. So I decided I would go out and stay with him. And what I'll tell you about Stockholm, Sweden is everyone is just beautiful there. Like, the women are drop dead gorgeous. Not all the women are like blonde hair, blue eyes, like what you probably see on like Google or somewhere like that. But I can tell you, like, the women are just absolutely stunning. And when you talk about the Swedish men, if you want to feel bad about your looks, just go to Stockholm, Sweden. It is just absolutely out of this world. I'm 6'2", and I swear in Sweden, every other guy is like 6'2" plus. Especially like the younger guys. You'll notice that like the older Swedes are still pretty tall, but they tend to be between 5'9" and 6'2" most of the time. But these younger Swedish people, they are super, super tall. And like, it's just crazy, but it seems like so many guys there that you see are like, that stereotypical 6'2", blonde haired, blue eyed, chiseled jawline, high cheekbones, like perfect looking male model. To give you an example, my buddy, he took me to this nightclub in Stureplan, which is in central Stockholm. And this place was called Stura Compagnie. And this was actually on the first night that I was there. My flight arrived a little bit earlier. And just waiting in line, even as a guy that's 6'2", I felt extremely short. A couple of his friends met us at the club, and when I kid you not, I was the shortest person in that group. I'm actually being serious. His tallest friend was about 6'8", and his two other buddies were 6'5" and 6'6", and my buddy's like about 6'3". And what I can say about Swedish people is they're like super nice, super like good natured. And if you do go to a country like Sweden, maybe it was just my experience, but people, I think overall are curious when you come from America, at least when they hear the accent. So overall, I think the people are very nice. They're very polite. They seem to be genuinely good people. But just like standing in line, there was probably like 100 people outside waiting to get into the club. And literally, even as a 6'2" guy, you feel short there. And like when I think of like these guys' looks in Sweden, I can't explain to you like how genetically blessed they are. Like, if you want to feel bad about your looks or about yourself, just go to Stockholm, Sweden, and it's like every third guy is like perfect looking male model. It is out of this world. Like, the only other place you might see that in the US is maybe a place like some neighborhoods in Miami or some neighborhoods in Los Angeles. But I can tell you, Stockholm, the people are just absolutely beautiful. I felt like a sub-5 male there, and it was just crazy to like experience that in person. But as we get into the nightclub, we had a couple drinks, just kind of vibe into the music. I was genuinely happy to be in Europe. This was, I think, my second time in Europe. And I always did want to go to Sweden. It's a beautiful country. There's a lot of good outdoor things to do. Stockholm's very beautiful. And so we were in this nightclub, and I saw this really stunning blonde hair, blue-eyed Swedish girl that was probably about 15 feet away from me. She was probably about 5'9", 5'10". Definitely like out of my league for sure. Probably by about, 2-3 points, if not more. But like I said, I figured, I've looked smaxed a lot over the years, and I figured I'd walk up and talk to her, and maybe she'll like my American accent. So what I did is, I told my buddy I was going to go over and talk to her, and he kind of gave me a little pep talk. One of the things I notice when you tell a friend that you're going to hit on a girl, most of your friends will kind of psych you up. They'll say things like, "You got this, man. You're going to crush it." At least that's, if you have friends that are, more positive, they kind of give you that blue pill talk, like you're the man, and they kind of psych you up to, go over and talk to her. So, I walked up, and, I saw she was drinking like I think it was like an American beer. I think it might've been like, Heineken or something like that. It was maybe I forget exactly what beer it was, but I walk up to her, and I think I had a beer in my hand, and I kind of like walked up to her and said, "Hey, what are you drinking?" And I think of, initially when you have a foreign accent and you go to another country, I would say it's more curiosity. It's less attraction, but it's more curiosity. So I think she heard my accent. She probably wouldn't have talked to me if it wasn't for the accent. But after about 30 seconds or so, she did ask where I was from. I said I was from the U.S. and I was visiting, and she was definitely like giving me answers back. She was kind of, I say she was like semi-engaged in the conversation. I was having to carry most of this conversation, as if you're going up to someone that's much more attractive than you, you're going to be carrying the conversation, or the conversation dies out. That's usually how it goes with someone that's better looking than you. But about a couple minutes in, I remember I was talking about where I was from, and all of a sudden this guy walks by, and this guy was clearly like 6'6", blonde hair, blue eyes, like chiseled jawline from the gods, really high cheekbones. He just is walking by us while we're talking. And the thing about Swedish people is they're very nice people in general. So it's not like this guy was coming up and, hitting on her while I was talking to her. This guy was just walking by, like minding his own business. And she immediately like stopped talking to me, and she like looked up at him and gave him this like, "I'm in love with you" eyes. Like the way she looked at this guy, I've never ever seen or experienced in my entire life. And it was like, "I'm falling in love with you, be mine now" kind of look that I've never seen anyone ever give. And as he walked by, this is the craziest part, but she said to me, it was like, "It was nice to meet you." And she put her hand out, and I knew right then and there, just this guy walking by, and he had, this guy didn't even look her direction. She craned her head to look at him. Just him simply walking by mogged me into a third realm. Like, I can't even explain. When you're this person that's like insanely good looking, you will mog people just by like existing. And so she walks away. I go back over to my buddy, and he asked what happened. I told her we had a couple minute conversation, but it fizzled out. And then, so we go off into another room, and we go to like the dance floor area. I kind of, I kind of danced off the disappointment. And then, later on that night, we go back into the main area where, I was talking to the girl earlier, and I see this guy standing over at the bar talking to like two girls and I guess a friend of his, and she's like lingering by him. It could have been a coincidence, but she was lingering by him, probably about like 5 or 7 feet away from him, with like another girl that she was talking to. And in my head, I was thinking like, I think she's moving closer to him to be in his sight so that he goes over and talks to her. So, I was kind of like just really curious. At this point, I was like well aware of the black pill. I was just curious to see what would happen, even after being completely mogged. And lo and behold, like 20 minutes later, I see her look up at him again. And I see them like lock eyes. And then I eventually see him kind of walk up and talk to her. And then they were talking closely. And then at this point, it was probably around like getting closer to closing time. And I was just talking to my buddy. I was like, oh, this has been fun, but like, I really want to get out of here. When you see, like, this is what's really tough as a guy. You could work on yourself and looks max for years, and there'll be some guy who just has insanely good genetics, just by, God-given birth, that mogs you into a third realm. So I couldn't even I just said to my friend, like, let's get out of here now, because I knew what was going to happen. Like, I knew if I stuck around another couple minutes, I probably would have saw them like making out. And 2 years ago, I like I said, I'm a more confident person now than I was 7-8 years ago, when I was bald and really overweight. But I just said to myself, like, I can't see this. Like, I just can't see this happen in front of me, like, in real time. So, I Buddy and I left the bar, and, we just went back to his apartment that wasn't, was a couple like towns away. We just took the subway, and even on the subway, man, like, you go on a subway in like New York City or Chicago. I mean, you're seeing like very ordinary looking people, but you go on a Stockholm subway, you just see like the best looking people on the planet. Like, it is just like the craziest thing. But yeah, that's my story of getting mogged into a third realm by a 6'6" Swedish Gigachad. If you ever want to get mogged, if you ever want to feel really bad about your looks, go to Stockholm, Sweden. In all seriousness, Stockholm, like, I think from an architecture perspective, if you grew up in the US, you'll definitely appreciate the old buildings, cobblestone streets. People are genuinely really nice, but the people are drop dead gorgeous there, and there's a lot of just 6'6" gigachads just walking around. It's insane to see. It really is. But hey, if you've got value out of this video, feel free to give it a like, and yeah, feel free to subscribe. Thanks. Take care.